Y'all told me to bring him back, so I got him back here. We coming to you live from Pittsburgh, California at the Herf Cigar Lounge, Pittsburgh, California. I'm gonna be talking to the owners after we conclude this interview, this stream. This is a black-owned business. You know, y'all know how I feel about that. Support these black-owned businesses. Real talk. Like Nipsey Hussle say, money in, no money out. Real talk. So, what's going on, Jay, man? How you doing, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Well, first of all, man, business is business. So, you know, we had a chance to tap in, you know, immediately the aftermath of Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, in which a lot of people was surprised by the outcome. I wasn't surprised by the outcome. I was surprised how dominant Terrence Crawford was. So for the people that missed, you know, the first stream that we did, let's roll it back a little bit. Let's roll back the clock and let's talk about, the fight itself. Okay. So give us your take on the fight, as a promoter and the guy that did a little boxing yourself, and just like, what did you see? Because I want people to learn today. I want you to actually explain techniques. And this is for these people that just sit up here and just have channels that really don't understand boxing. Right. So I wanted somebody that actually knows the business and the sport itself to explain. So I'm gonna let you cook, man.
So what I actually watching the fight live and watching it on television is two different things. I see why the analysts have their own screen that they can look at so they can see instead of watching it and commentating or being analysts, while the fight is commencing. So I actually went back home yesterday, sat back and I watched the complete fight. So what I seen Terrence Crawford nullify Errol Spence's jab with his own jab from the southpaw stance, but he was catching it. It was a catch and shoot. So every time Terrence Crawford jabbed with his right hand, he would block Errol Spence's jab and slightly tilt his head and fire his jab and catch it. I also watched, it was interesting, how Terrence Crawford blocked Errol Spence's shots to the body. Another thing that was interesting that I've seen, I watched how typically I've watched Errol Spence's fights in the past, and he has a habit of like getting inside, and he'll lean on you, then he'll loop his left. Terrence was prepared for that. What he did, when Errol Spence would lean in, that's why he would catch Errol Spence leaning over. Because when Errol Spence would lean in, Terrence Crawford would step back, and Errol Spence would lean forward. So then Terrence would fire down and catch him with shots. So it just really showed that Terrence really had a tremendous amount of tools in his toolbox, as Roy Jones Jr. would say. And that's the thing. What I seen from Errol Spence, he was just one-dimensional. He fought the same fight. Kind of similar to Wilder versus Fury. I didn't see Wilder make any changes for Fury, Wilder 2 or 3 from the first fight. So, I mean, that's my take on it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you see anything that Errol Spence possibly could do different in a rematch? Do you buy into the notion that, because as soon as the fight was over and the results came in that Terrence Crawford had a dominant victory over Errol Spence, then you started to hear the excuses. Are you buying into any of these things about being weight drained and we'll get to the conspiracies and, Errol Spence wasn't the same guy. Are you buying into any of this stuff about, weight and drained and all this kind of stuff? Because at the end of the day, Terrence Crawford, he had to make 147 as well as Errol Spence. So, are you buying into any of these excuses being made towards Errol Spence just getting completely outclassed by Terrence Crawford?
I mean, the excuses can't be made. I mean, if he drained himself That's on his team. I mean, this is a key fight, man. Everything has to be done right. And if it's not done right, you can't blame nobody at the end of the day. Because you could have postponed it. If you had a sudden illness, you could have postponed it. You know, so if you didn't postpone it, and he was dehydrated, if Errol Spence was dehydrated, he went on with the fight. So you got to endure whatever deterrence that you have. You know, you got to endure them. And I mean, like, keeping it honest though, for him to swell up so quickly, I did think about dehydration. Something was wrong because he turned red so quickly, and then the swelling is so severe so quickly. So those are things, but it's still no excuse. You stayed in the fight. You got knocked down 3-4 times and you got right back up. So at the end of the day, you know, if Errol Spence is saying Terrence Crawford was the better man, shouldn't nobody else be making no excuses?
Okay, so let's get to my favorite part, because I definitely wanted to get your opinion on the newfound conspiracy theories from basically the fanboys and basically the fanagers about, you know, I didn't heard everything from Terrence Crawford had loaded gloves, basically that Derrick James spiked Errol Spence's water, and what's the other one? Terrence Crawford stacked his gloves. So I just wanted to get your take on all these elaborate conspiracies about why Errol Spence lost the fight. So what's your take on that?
I mean, the thing of it is, the gloves get checked by athletic commission. However, if I was managing or advising a fighter, I'm gonna send my own representative while my opponent is getting gloves wrapped. They have the athletic commission there to make sure that the gloves are wrapped right. They sign off on it. You know, it's still kind of like the same thing that I kind of seen when Floyd Mayweather had the whole boxing fanatics thinking that Manny Pacquiao should take his test. They already have athletic commissions in place to make sure that nobody's cheating. So Manny Pacquiao didn't have to take Floyd Mayweather's test. That was a courtesy to Floyd Mayweather, because they were going to both get tested anyway by the athletic commission. So that's out of there.
Okay, because I'm glad that I'm glad that you shed some light on that, because, you know, previously you had something similar going on with Steve Fulton and Inouye, or Inouye, or however you pronounce his name. They complained about how he wrapped his gloves, so about him like double stacking his wraps with putting the tape on the skin. And then the funny thing was, Inouye, he said okay, he said fine. He wrapped them the way Steve Fulton requested them, and then basically the results didn't even make a difference.
Because Steve Fulton had his representative there, trainer, co-chief, there to make sure that the gloves were being wrapped right. I mean, not the gloves, but the wraps were being wrapped. Because, I mean, you know, it was a thing back where I remember Roy Jones fought Trinidad. It came out where Trinidad would build casts. His daddy would build a cast. So that's where all of that kind of came from. You know, where that's where I first seen Roy Jones sent his representative over to Trinidad's locker room to make sure that his hands were wrapped right and it wasn't no cast being built.
Yeah, because I noticed I've seen people starting this stuff about Terrence Crawford, you know, trying to stack his gloves, because basically Terrence Crawford wraps his own hands, and Manny Pacquiao used to wrap his own hands. So people were saying, look, he's not applying any tape around, you know, he's not applying any guts around the knuckles. So look, he's cheating. So I mean, it just got to the point I was like, come on, man, enough is enough, man. Do you think one of the biggest problems leading up to the fight is with the fans themselves? Because I just saw some erratic behavior, and I just think, you think it's to the point to where some of these fans are part of the problem and they need to just shut the fuck up and just watch the fight, and especially trying to talk about something they don't know about? Because, you know, I'm actually out there. I don't pretend to know everything. If I don't know something, I ask you about it, and I've learned. And do you think that's the problem? If you're not actually going to these fights, going to these gyms, you shouldn't be speaking on something you have no knowledge of. Especially, that's like a person trying to tell somebody how to fly a plane and they ain't never been in a plane.
They not qualified.
Okay. So
basically, if you haven't laced up, if you're not in the business, I got over 20 years in the business, close to 25. I laced up, I spar with guys. I mean, I know what I'm looking at, you know, in like Roy Jones, like Tony Otaro. Those guys know what they're looking at, you know. So I mean, like people that fanatics, boxing fanatics that watch multiple fights, they think they're the experts at some point, but they've never gotten in the ring. They don't even know distance. They don't know pivots. They don't know when to pivot. They don't know when to throw certain combinations. You know, so they're really not qualified to even speak on something like that. Other than picking their favorite, everybody's entitled to pick whoever they choose. But I mean, in terms of like breakdowns and in terms of speaking on things that they really don't know nothing about, they're not qualified. You know, and I get that all the time. You know, I get that from some of my friends, closest friends. They get mad at me because I tell them, like Roger Mayweather say, man, you don't know boxing. Roger Mayweather say, you don't know shit about boxing. You know, and a lot of times they don't. And I proved them right. I proved them right because I had all my friends picked Errol Spence. They said Errol Spence was too big for Crawford. They said Crawford fought no one. How can you tell me that someone captured a world title in one division, cleaned out a whole nother division at the next division up? How did he fight nobody? How he hasn't fought anybody? You know?
So Jay, what do you think of basically as far as some of the content creators? You know, and I'm not gonna hold you back. If you want to say names, that's fine with me. But do you also blame some of the content creators to where we had all this disdain for each other, and you know, basically this separation and basically this division where we should have been celebrating this fight when you had two black fighters in their prime having possibly one of the biggest fights. Well, so we thought was going to be one of the biggest fights based off how one-sided it was. It wasn't a big fight. But are you kind of like disappointed in how some of these content creators were basically choosing sides and basically instigating and basically saying, hey, I'm down with this dude and, you know, the hell with this dude? Because I wanted to get your take on content creators, because I know you're very passionate about that.
I mean, you're always going to have the naysayers. You're always going to have people that's going to be against you. Obviously, we see Terrence Crawford use that as a motivation, because all of those guys that were content creators that pushed false propaganda against Terrence Crawford, he didn't do not one interview with him. Not one interview.
Do you feel he was justified?
I mean, I wouldn't have carried it like that. I still would have did an interview with him. But he's a different man, you know, than me. But the way he chose to do it, I respect it. You know, but I think that those multiple content creators, because you think it's about at least 10 of them that we can name that was against Terrence Crawford, and they got a lot of YouTube hits. They built their whole platforms off of down in Terrence Crawford.
Is there anybody in particular that you could think of? Because listen, here we don't censor nobody here. We let people speak.
I don't give a fuck. Boxing Ego, White Boy, Black Boy Fred, Barbershop Conversations. Fanon, he stayed pushing false, negative propaganda. You know what I'm saying? What's another one? Money Brown. He stayed hollering Earl Spence Jr. and this and that. Even though they're entitled to their own opinion, but and the other guy, Champ Side, he's another one. You know? And you probably know some more. I named about 5 right there.
I know quite a few.
You know more than me, because I got tired of looking at it.
Yeah, it got to the point to where it was just I had to distance myself because me myself, it was sort of like what you was teaching me.
They created that other side of the street. When everything Earl Spence said against Terrence Crawford, they took it and ran with it and maximized it.
So let me ask
The
you this.
70-30, they took that. Earl Spence ain't in no position to offer. Let me get this straight and clear.
Say it.
Boxers are not in no position or qualified to offer another boxer percentage of anything, especially if you ain't done the numbers. You ain't selling multiple million pay-per-views. You're not in no position to offer nobody shit. So let's get that up out of there. Let's quit doing that. Like that Shakur, Devin Haney thing. 25% of what? What does Devin Haney take 75% of? Of what? A fight that hasn't even, nobody even ran the numbers. So how can you possibly say, I'm gonna give you 25 and I take 75? That's bullshit. Straight up bullshit.
Okay, so what did you think? Okay, so the early, these are what they're saying the early numbers are, the quote unquote early numbers. It was kind of funny though. It was funny that you brought up the numbers because behind the scenes, because Justin kind of gave me a perspective and he kind of gave me an idea what he said the fight would do, and it's kind of funny. He predicted exactly what the fight would do, and the early reports have the fight 700,000.
I said 500 first, and then I said no, I'm gonna change it 700. And if it did 700K, that's not a bad. That's 20 off the ticket sales, and that's 70, $80.
85,
80 times 80,
59 million.
That's 60 million, 80 million, 60, $80 million, 84, 85, 86 million dollars, $80 million, something like that. That's a good show. That's a good event. I mean, that's close to $1 million. I mean, everybody got paid because I think they were only guaranteed 10 apiece.
So you don't consider? I don't consider it a flop because
it's not. It's not. If they were only guaranteed, is what I thought from the beginning. Somebody said 20. Even if it's 20, everybody got paid. But I think they were guaranteed 10 million apiece.
I want you to speak on that because it's kind of funny when me and you was discussing behind the scenes this ridiculous 70-30 stuff. And once again, Justice said exactly what they should have got when he told me. Tell them what you were saying, and they got exactly what you said they should get.
Neither Terrence never made 10 million. Spence never made 10 million. And I kind of said it like this. I'm gonna keep it real. I said maybe 8 for Terrence, 10 for Spence. But as we seen, and that's guaranteed monies. And as we seen, it came out to be 10-10. 10 million for Spence, 10 million for Crawford.
So were you satisfied that they went 50? I was happy because I always thought
see what they did? They took a less of a guarantee. So now they get more off the pay-per-view. They get more dollars. Each fighter gets more dollars off of pay-per-view. Because what you're doing by taking a less of a guarantee is what Gervonta was doing. He was taking a less of a guarantee and getting more reward on the back end. Because you see, the network, Showtime put the money up. Al didn't put the money up. But Al brought the fighters to Showtime that he's in partnership with. They put the money up. So they have to make the 20 million that they put up for both fighters back first, off of the pay-per-view. They got to make the monies for the promotions. They have to make the monies back for the rest of the card. So if it was 10 apiece, 20 million for the fighters, probably another meal or two for the undercard, and then the promotions maybe 500. You know what I'm saying? That's like $23 million. That has to come out of the pay-per-view. And then once that is made back, then the fighters split. The network split. Everybody gets their splits.
So let me ask you this. Do you see a rematch being even more profitable? Me, myself, I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm a logical person. I don't see a rematch being any different. And I think a lot of people, except for the diehard Errol Spence fans, want to see a rematch. But do you think a rematch would be even more successful than the first one? I think a rematch might be a little bit lower because I think people understand how that fight went, and I think the smart people that understand boxing know that I don't think it's nothing Errol Spence could do to be successful against Terrence Crawford and a rematch. So what do you think? Talk numbers to us.
I'm gonna go back to a fight, Julian Jackson and Jaron McCullough.
Yeah, I remember that.
Julian Jackson, Jaron McCullough blew Julian Jackson out. Julian Jackson was knocking everybody out. Jaron McCullough blew him out 6 rounds. They got a rematch. Jaron McCullough came back and blew him out, I think in 2 or 3 rounds. So like, I kind of agree with you. I don't think that it's profitable if they do it. I'm not gonna say it's profitable, but I see that. I don't see it being a bigger show on a rematch. I don't think so. I think that because everybody, the way this fight went, everybody just watched and witnessed Terrence Crawford blow Errol Spence out. So the next fight is going to be mayhem.
So you think it could be even worse?
And I don't think that maybe people might pay for the pay-per-view. You might get 500,000 buys for a pay-per-view, but I don't think that it'll fill up the arena. They can't get $20 million on the ticket sales. It'll have to be a cheaper venue fight, and pay-per-view stays the same. So it'll be less money. It'll be less money in the pot.
I'm glad.
So if it's 80 million, I said it'd probably be 40, 50 million.
So you saying they basically couldn't be guaranteed
Everybody
more money?
Everybody that watched that fight knows. You can look at all the memes that has come. It's just all over Facebook. I don't think it's something that people want to see.
Okay. So
it just was too much of a blowout. It wasn't competitive. And I even heard reports of Errol saying if he knocked Terrence out, he might not fight him no more. I heard that. I don't know how true that is, and I ain't trying to push false propaganda, but I kind of heard that.
I find that interesting too because, like I said, I like to talk numbers, and business-wise, to me, I think we've seen enough of this because Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, this is what that fight reminds me of. Who wanted to see Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis too? And it's to the point just like in a few weeks, or should I say in 2 weeks, we got we got Anthony Joshua versus Dillian White, a dude that Anthony Joshua already knocked out, and it's like, why are we seeing this again?
Well, some fights you need to see again because that's a building process for Anthony Joshua. So that has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with the fans. That's not really a type of fight that's him. That's Anthony Joshua coming back. So you go back. They're rebuilding him. So that's all that's about right there. It's a gauge to see how he does against a former opponent that he walked through him, right?
Well, he stopped him.
Okay.
He stopped him.
Okay, so we want to see with the new trainer. He has a new trainer. He's lost fights since then. He's won and lost fight. He's lost fight, won and lost fights since then. So that's a gauge fight. That's a fight to gauge where he is competitively. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, Virgil Hunter came out earlier today. I think he did an interview with Fight Hub, and he was basically saying the beating that Errol Spence took via Terrence Crawford, he basically was insinuating, which a lot of people were saying, that Spence should consider possibly retiring, or at least not trying to go directly back into a fight with Terrence Crawford, because you're hearing reports about him possibly having some brain damage and Virgil Hunter's a trainer. Me and you both know him. I mean, I'm listening to what Virgil Hunter saying. Do you think that Errol Spence should just sit out a little bit and possibly put his pride aside, trying to run it back with Terrence Crawford, or could it be like he's looking for one big last, paycheck?
Well, not to cut you off, from my knowledge of having a promoter's license, knowing the business, I think it's an automatic 6 months. You can't fight for 6 months when you get stopped and knocked out. Something like that. 90 days to 6 months. So, I mean, with that being said, I don't think that will make the December date as they had in the forecast because of the stoppage. It's a 6 month. When you get knocked out, it's 6 months before you automatically get suspended. That's how it used to be. You automatically get your license suspended for 6 months. 90 days to 6 months. I'm not saying I'm right, but that's what I think I recall. I've been in the business 25 years, and I think it's 6 months.
So you saying it's 90 days to 6 months before you even can start, like, training?
No, you could train, but you could train the whole 6 months. But competition, you could even spar, but competition, competitively, you can't compete for 6 months. You won't get sanctioned to fight for 6 months.
Is that because of what happened with, Muhammad Ali, where Muhammad Ali?
I don't know when this rule came in effect, but to my knowledge, and I had a California State promoter's license, and there's no, all of those licenses derived from Las Vegas. Las Vegas is the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So that's a Las Vegas law, I think. And there's ways around it though now, because you could put in a waiver or something and get that knocked out, but it's at least 90 days before you can fight again.
I wanted to get
So where are we at? We're in July, right?
Yes.
That pushes it to January, unless you get the 90 days. But it's either 90 days or 6 months.
Okay, one of my subs said that it's 6 months.
See, I know what I was talking about.
So he wouldn't even really be available,
Right.
till like January at the least. So,
and I wasn't really sure of a TKO or a KO.
I mean, the man was knocked down like 3, and he was badly hurt.
I mean, you watch the ref come look at him to see. You know what I'm saying? The ref witnessed him take all that punishment.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me talk about another conspiracy theory, because I really want people to understand this, and I want you to give people the knowledge that you have, because you, like I said, you are actually in the business, and I actually follow you and get a lot of knowledge from you. So do you think the stoppage was premature? Because you got people saying that the stoppage was premature, and I was sitting up like, what are you guys watching? The man, if Harvey Doc wouldn't have stepped in, Errol Spence might have left on the stretcher. He was shaking. He was badly hurt. So
I don't want to see a guy get I got a lot of respect for Errol Spence. Errol Spence was a classman throughout this whole promotion, every aspect of this promotion. He was a classman. So I would love to see him come back. But I think some time off and some rest, I think he should do that. But for somebody to say that the stoppage was premature, I mean,
I've heard it all.
That's somebody, no disrespect to them, but that's somebody that don't know boxing. They just want to see somebody get hurt. And you have referees in place to make sure, nobody suffers, life-threatening injuries.
Because I'm glad you broke that down, because a lot of people don't understand that.
We don't want to see them get hurt. And the thing of it is, man, this is how these guys make a living. So I mean, somebody was saying something about a fight where an individual took the knee. Sometimes you have to take the knee. I've seen fighters take the knee, take the knee and get a standing 8 count. and get back up and kick ass. So sometimes you have to throw in the towel to live for a better day. That's like somebody shooting at you with a gun. You don't have a gun. You gonna stay there and get shot? Or you gonna run your ass on if you know who did it and have the opportunity to come back and get him another day?
Well, me and you both know how that works. So
I honestly feel with Spence being a soldier that he is, athlete that he is, he wants to come back. So if he listens to his team and he does the right thing, he's gonna take that break and then come back.
And I'm glad you spoke on that. Me myself, and I told you this. I understand you want to go out on your shield, but at the end of the day, you also have to think about
being smart.
Yeah, you have to think about your family.
Yeah.
Me myself, and I told you this. I went in on Derrick James because I thought Derrick James, after the 7th round when he got badly hurt and damn near went through the ring after the 3rd knockdown, I think Derrick James' pride got the best of him, and he kept sending Errol Spence out there, and Errol Spence was done. After that 3rd knockdown, I was like, everybody that I was watching the fight with said, okay, even the Errol Spence fan was saying, okay, I think he's done. And Derrick James sent him out there for 2 more rounds. He got punished 2 more rounds. And I think to a certain degree, Derrick James took something out of Errol Spence's career. Like he maybe cost him a couple of fights down the line, or some residual damage down the line that he may suffer.
Well, you can't do.
Well, what do you think?
You can't do what you're saying that the other people do. We can't point blank. I mean, that's like if me and you go to fight. You side by side with me. You feel like that I can win. You're gonna push me to the limit. I don't think he did it on purpose. I think he just didn't use discretion. He should have used more discretion because your fighter got knocked down 3 times.
I understand.
But that's a learning lesson for Derrick James. He's probably never been in a situation like that. That's something that's a growing pain for him. It's a growing pain for him to not maintain professionalism with making cracks at a bow mat. You know what I'm saying? That's a growing pain. That's things that you learn on the job. So, Derrick James being a former fighter, kind of should know that, but, hopefully he learned his lesson.
Yeah, because I don't want to see that again because, like I said, I'm just learning. And like I said, I'm not in the ring fighting, and I know I'm not a trainer, but then the eye test told me that Spence had enough. And that's the only issue I had with Derrick James. I was just wondering, was it about him or was it about, maybe he could bring something out of Errol Spence, but Errol Spence to me was clearly done.
We gonna think it was that, that he wanted to just push his fighter to the limit because he believed so much in Errol Spence's talents and abilities that he thought it'll you listen to how he talked during like the All Access, and he talked about he really didn't think that Terrence had a lot in his toolbox other than athletic ability, but we clearly see Terrence had a tremendous amount in his toolbox, more than Earl. And at the same time, though, what trainers have to do is stop being closed-minded. You had Roy Jones, you had Antonio Tarver, you had Mike Tyson, you had all of these guys that watch boxing, that were boxers, like you, Derrick James. Sometimes you gotta listen. You gotta listen to the professionals, you know what I'm saying? You gotta listen to the experts. They're experts. And go back and reassess and say what he needed. See, I like the plan from Womack and Crawford. Because they had everything down pat. They had every tool in the toolbox for Errol Spence.
Yeah. So this is what I'm hearing supposed to be happening. And this is just a rumor. Once again, you know, on my channel, I say this is allegedly a rumor. So they're saying Terrence Crawford is going to meet with Haney approximately maybe tomorrow to discuss, you know, what could be his next option. I think Errol Spence should sit for a minute. But you're hearing Keith Thurman, Jaron Ennis, and then you're hearing possibly Charlo. Probably, you know, what's left of him after the Canelo fight, because I think he's going to be severely damaged one way or another, even if he finds a way to beat Canelo. But I think he's going to pay a stiff price. So let me ask you this: if you a promoter, or you with Team Crawford, or whatever the case may be, or just your honest opinion, who do you think Terrence Crawford should fight next? Me, myself, Keith Thurman. I would like to see Keith Thurman. I think that's a sellable fight. I think even though Terrence Crawford would be a heavy favorite versus Keith Thurman, I still think it would be a fun fight. Jaron Ennis, I think he's still a little bit above prospect, but I still think that he's not ready for somebody like Terrence Crawford yet. Terrence Crawford proved Saturday that there's levels to this shit.
Right.
And Terrence Crawford is
on the upper echelon.
So give us your opinion.
Terrence Crawford is a GOAT. Period, point blank. He a GOAT. Greatest of all time. One of the greatest of all time. I mean, honestly, what I think with all that he's done, he should take a break. I would kick back, because he's in a position now. I would kick back and see what happens from Canelo and Charlo, because I told Terrence's mom I would like to see him fuck Canelo up after Spence. I had forgot all about Charlo. So if he sits back and waits, he might have the opportunity to fight the winner of Charlo. And they all in Al's camp. I wouldn't even waste no time on Keith Thurman. We already seen what Manny Pacquiao did to Keith Thurman. If Manny Pacquiao was in shape, he was younger, he would have walked through Keith Thurman. I mean, he hit him with a body shot and couldn't finish him. He dropped Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman ain't no match for Terrence Crawford. So that's a waste of time. Right now, he's in a position to whereas he ain't got nothing to prove. So he's a two-time undisputed in two different weight classes. You got the opportunity to be a three-time undisputed at 154.
So you don't think he should? You don't think he should like take maybe a fight in between, because he took because he took minimal damage.
Why? He put in the work to take that minimal damage. He put that work in. He studied. I mean, Terrence Crawford is a really good dude too. He helps. He goes to different camps and helps. He helped Devin Haney out for his camp, sparring. He helped out Shakur. He helps out everybody, and he always sparring. I remember when I first met him back in 2017, 18. I think Loma was fighting in New York. Terrence Crawford was playing around in the hotel. What's that hotel across the street from Madison Square?
Oh, the Stewart.
The Stewart Hotel. We all in the Stewart in the lobby. Terrence Crawford playing around, joking. He and Hitchison. What's his name?
I know
Hitchison. He and Hitchison was playing around, and they talked about sparring. Crawford was just there to see Shakur fight, because Shakur was fighting on the undercard for Loma. So he was just there to see the fight. So they talked about sparring and all that. Like, we about to go spar. They went to go spar. They went and got Terrence brought his gear when he wasn't even fighting to go spar. So he that type of fighter, man. Like, he loved boxing. I think he should just kick back. I think he earned that. He earned that right to be able to pick who he want to pick now. Like when Floyd got to a certain point, he earned that right to be able to cherry pick who he wanted to fight, and he did it. Terrence did that.
I mean, he did beat the guy that everybody said he had no chance of winning. I mean, to me,
everybody.
To me, I feel like he cleaned out the division.
That's why I didn't understand when I got to Vegas, they said Terrence was the favorite. It was like everybody had an epiphany. Like all of a sudden, everybody said Terrence. The odds makers say Terrence was the favorite.
And what do you think of that too? Because logically,
somebody knowledgeable in the MGM casino betting division, the odds makers, they did some real extensive research on this fight. They knew that they were going to have a lot of people here for this fight, so they did some extensive research, and they picked it right. Because Errol Spence was first. He was the favorite at first. Remember when the fight was announced? That shit shifted tremendously.
I thought it was strange, like just watching like just watching various channels, and I was like a little bit shocked when I saw how many people just thought that this was a mismatch in favor of Errol Spence, and and then as we got closer to the fight.
Because, Joe, when you had so many people typically today watch YouTube. I'm talking about, man, I mess with numerous ladies that got little boys or whatever, little kids. Or I hear them, they always say, my son watching YouTube all night. So everyone watches YouTube and they're listening to all this false propaganda. And I'm telling you, those 10 guys, you probably say more, they were pushing Errol Spence. Everybody was saying, Terrence Crawford ain't fought nobody. How can you say a man that cleaned out a whole division and captured 4 world championships in one division has fought nobodies? You ain't qualified to say that. But those YouTubers did that. And that shit got in people's ears.
Yeah, I was just shocked by that when I was just shocked.
But the odds makers for MGM or whoever, sports books, they actually did their research. They talked to some real people, and they gave them the ups on Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, because I was just wondering, because I was like, man, this is just crazy. But like I said before, I was doing my research and I was like, why do people think this fight is just going to be a blowout when most of the boxing pundits, I'm talking about actual trainers and boxers,
had it close.
Well, most of them to me, from what I saw,
they had Terrence on the edge. Like a lot of the experts, they had Terrence on the edge. But the other people, they had Earl winning. But the experts, they had it kind of close.
I've seen most of them.
Like a 55-45 or,
But that's
slightly.
what I'm saying. I saw most of them started to really analyze this. Like, okay, I think I should go. You started to see people say, I'm going to lean towards Terrence Crawford. You saw Teddy Atlas. You saw a lot of Eddie Hearn. Them dudes.
No. Teddy Atlas out the gate talked of Terrence instinct. He said he's instinctual. Terrence Crawford is a switch hitter with power in both hands.
And of course, Timothy Bradley flat out said that
because he sparred with him. He sparred with Terrence in the early days. He sparred Terrence. They say Terrence came and sparred with him by himself, with nobody. He went to go work with Timothy Bradley. I think Timothy Bradley was getting ready for, I don't know if it was a Pacquiao or what's that Russian guy he fought?
Ruslan Provodnikov.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Yeah, I remember that fight. Boy, did Timothy Bradley take unnecessary punishment in that fight.
Yeah.
But it was one of the greatest fights I saw within the last 2 years. But damn, Timothy Bradley just took so much punishment that he didn't even need to take. I think that fight shortened his career, I think, a little bit. But
Tim, I give Tim got a lot of heart, man. I like Tim. He just didn't have a lot of power, but he made up with his heart in other areas, in the boxing ability. Because I think he lost it. He was close to losing that fight because he got dropped twice. He pulled it out with the rounds, winning the rounds.
Yeah. So you just saying that Terrence Crawford should just sit?
Yeah. Sit back and watch now. He earned the right to do that though, Joe. He should just kick back. He don't need to rush into anything. If right now, if it don't make dollars, it ain't gonna make sense. And he earned the right to do that.
So you saying that Bud should just chase legacy? I want to see. You know, at first,
chase legacy.
I mean, I feel like his legacy is secure, but I'm saying to go a step further because myself.
No, I mean.
No, you got to hear this. I felt like a year ago, if you would have asked me about the Charlo fight, should Bud take that fight, I would have said no. But now, after what I saw, I think that Terrence Crawford actually has more than a good chance of winning that fight.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think Charlo's scared of Earl.
You mean Bud?
No. I said what I said.
Oh, okay.
I said what I said. I think Jamel Charlo was scared of Earl. I could be wrong, but I feel like you showing me you show Earl way too much respect, and Earl ain't showing you that respect back. It was kind of like some middleweights. I ain't gonna say no names, but it was a couple middleweights. One of them, they were friends. I'm gonna say this, they were friends. I ain't gonna say no names. Y'all can figure it out on your own. One, they talked about the two friends fighting. One of the middleweights didn't say that he wasn't gonna fight him. The other one. The other one said he didn't want to fight him because they're friends. But one of them wasn't saying nothing about that. That suggests to me that the one had wanted all the smoke. The other one didn't. And I say, Spence shows, Charlo shows Spence a lot of respect. So he might have been getting his ass whooped in sparring by Spence. Charlo had probably.
Well, he used to get irate and act a little erratic when you would ask him about fighting Terrence Crawford. He was like, you know what his exact word would be? He said he need to worry about fighting Errol Spence.
Okay, that's
and
done.
He ain't. Well, we see what happened with that.
And what Terrence called him?
He said, well, Terrence Crawford looked directly at him and said, you next.
Nah, but he said it was a name. He called him something.
Well, I don't want to say what he told him.
Yeah, he said it was something. It was something fucked up he said.
He told him, in the words of Triple H, he told him to suck it, and then when he was like I think after the third knockdown, he looked directly at Charlo and said, you next. And then the funny thing was, I was just kind of shocked at how Charlo was reacting. He put his hoodie over his head, and now I think it's to the point now he got to have that meeting eventually with Al Heyman, because I think Al Heyman can make Terrence his star now. Because he actually in good hands now. He got Terrence Crawford at least guaranteed for one more fight.
I don't even think Terrence is that kind of fighter. Like, I don't think he's really worried about being a star. He's already a star. He already the best. He the best, man. He the pound for pound king. You know, he probably made 40 million this fight. 50 million this fight. That's a lot of money. You know, I mean, so all the fights I think he should take, he should wait and kick back and see the winner of Charlo and Canelo. And do a catch weight if he got to fight Canelo.
I mean, you don't think that would be...
And maybe do a catch weight to fight. If Charlo beats Canelo, Charlo gonna have 2 unifications, right?
He would be.
Does Canelo have all the belts?
Well, this is how
does Canelo have all the belts at 68?
They're gonna be fighting for Canelo's 168 undisputed, but not Charlo's 154 undisputed. But if Jamel wins, he's undisputed in 2. He simultaneously is undisputed in 2 weight classes, which could set up a super fight between him and Terrence Crawford.
So that's a win-win. He still got action at the 154 titles with Charlo if Charlo loses against Canelo. Or he could just go for the gusto and go at Canelo and do a catch weight, 60.
Do you think Canelo would
65.
be willing? You think Canelo would be willing to do 60?
I don't know.
Bud said he's not going up to 168. He said that's a little bit too much out of his range.
Sit back and wait and see what this cat does against Canelo. It's an opportunity for him to sit back and watch. That's the best play. That's the best play.
So are you interested?
I wouldn't rush. I wouldn't rush a fighter that I represent into fighting a nobody when they've accomplished so much. He's accomplished so much. So why fight Keith Thurman? Why fight any of them guys? Ennis, he got to wait. He got to wait his turn. Period, point blank.
Who would you like to see Jaron Ennis fight? Because myself, I still feel like he got to put in some work before he even can think about Terrence Crawford. And there's no disrespect to him, and I know now that
what did Terrence Crawford tell him? He said he had to wait.
Yeah.
Wait your turn. Bud had to wait.
Yeah, 5 years.
Everybody had to wait. Just like when Devin Haney made that shit up when he talked about he wanted why was he so mad at Loma? Talking about when you got 3 or 4 fights, 5 fights, Loma didn't fight you. Why would I fight you when I'm a world champion? And you only got 3 or 4 fights. So you gotta wait your turn, man. That's what it's all about. You pay your dues. Terrence paid his dues. He waited his turn. He stayed on the other side of the street, as they called it. He fought who he had to fight, captured the title, still waited, and then got what he wanted. Patience is a virtue.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think, I know Danny Garcia already moved up to 154. Do you think maybe...
None of those guys, Joe. None of those guys.
None. So no, hold on. I need you to hear. So
none of those guys.
What about Keith Thurman? What about Keith Thurman versus Ennis?
That's, and
then maybe the winner.
Now that's what needs to happen. Jaron Boots Ennis needs to fight Sean Porter if he comes out of retirement. Danny Garcia or Keith Thurman. Period, point blank. That's how it should go.
Yeah, well, Garcia is at 154, and I was thinking about Virgil Ortiz, but then I just think
Virgil Ortiz. That's another one. He got to fight him first.
Or
Virgil
stay
Ortiz
on.
number 2, right?
Yeah, he ranked up there.
Come on, man.
Or stay on this.
Come on, man. Then you gonna rush him all the way up. He should get rushed all the way up now because everybody's saying he looked good. Looks could be deceiving. Obviously, right?
Yeah.
We just seen that, right? We just seen what you think looks could be. It got dismantled. When did he drop him in the second round?
He dropped him in the second round.
I gave Spitz that first round too. I gave that first round to Spitz.
Somebody is saying Canelo could come down to 154.
Canelo could come down to all of us. Trust me, he ain't nothing but 5'7". He could come down to 60. He could come down to 154. That's why I'm trying to explain to you. Canelo might weigh more, but I don't think he toted that punching power up there.
Well, I kind of saw that based on how bad he looked against Bivol. Nothing he could do to Bivol would have phased him, man.
Because Bivol probably walk around about 180. Bivol walks around at 180.
Okay, so people are a lot of people are agreeing with you saying that Canelo could come down.
Yeah. He only number 5'7", 5'8", maybe max.
My thing is, I think what would be suitable and fair to me, Canelo, Bud give up. Bud move up maybe 10 pounds and Canelo move down 10 pounds and they can fight at 158.
We have to see, like I said, don't do nothing hasty. Stay in contact with Al. But don't talk right now. Let's just wait and see what happens September 30th. And then it'll be right there.
Do you plan on attending Canelo versus Charlo?
I'll be there.
Okay. Well, it's up in the air. So I wanted to ask you about some other guys. So what's your take on the upcoming fight, October 28th, Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis? I'm going to be attending that fight. It's in Las Vegas. The venue is yet to be determined, but me and you both know in all likelihood it'll be at the MGM Grand because they got a good deal with. They're in good standing with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is in good standing with the MGM Grand. So in all likelihood it'll be at the MGM Grand. What's your take on Devin versus Regis?
I mean, Regis Prograde didn't really show me much that last fight. Like, it seemed like he barely won that last fight. So, I mean, I think Devin will beat him with boxing ability. However, I just feel that I would have liked to have seen Devin Haney and Loma fight again. I mean, we've seen controversial fights where, Floyd Mayweather fought, what is the guy that beat Brawner?
Maidana.
He fought Maidana twice because they were controversial. The first one was controversial, so he fought him again. If you look at all the other fighters, Roy Jones and Tarver. Roy Jones beat Tarver the first fight. He didn't even have to go back and fight him the second fight.
I wish he wouldn't have.
But see, the G in boxing, the boxing G's, they gonna go back and fight you again. They not gonna. I feel like Devin them rushing up there. I feel like they ain't staying around because you got Shakur and Tank looming around. I want to see those fights. Devin already in the history books. He already made Undisputed. So right now, you at a point where you make your money. You give everybody the best fights. You're in a position to whereas when you make it to that elite level and you fight an elite talent, the best fights is when y'all dropping each other and the fight is going the distance and we're able to get a 2 out of the 1. You might lose this fight, but what you got deep down inside of you got to be able to bring that up and win the next fight. So taking the rematch is not bad. I feel like they should have took a rematch because now what they're gonna do, they're gonna relinquish those belts at some point, and Shakur gonna have to go back and get all the belts. When I think they should have fought. I think Devin should have fought Loma again. Shakur fight the winner of that. And then if Tank wanted to fight them, because Tank is bigger than him, Tank really don't have to fight them either. He's accomplished. I think it should go like that.
So do you think that maybe if Devin would have stayed, they could have did something similar to the Super 6, ran something like a gauntlet that could have included Devin Haney, Frank Martin, Lomachenko, maybe even Ryan Garcia, and Shakur Stevenson? Would you have liked that scene something like? I would have liked that scene a gauntlet. I think that would have been very fun, and I think a lot of money could have been made, and I thought it would have been fun for boxing. But we all know how that works.
We can't forget about one guy though that's in there, Teofimo Lopez.
And well, he's at 140.
But we can't forget about him. So if Devin's gonna fight Regis Prograis and has intentions on fighting Teofimo, that'll be the other fight that I would like to see. I won't be as mad at Devin no more if he fights Teofimo right after that. But I felt like he should have fought Loma because Loma did dominate him and almost hurt him, knocked him out 2 rounds straight. He just didn't come back in the 12th and do nothing. So Lomo's finish game, he don't have his finish. He's not a great finisher.
Yeah, that was proven. I mean, I watched the fight 3 times, and I mean, I don't think it's as controversial as everybody made it out to be. I did have Devin Haney winning, but I did.
Well, you got a lot of people that say that.
And then I was objecting. And I understand that.
But I honestly say this.
I'm objecting.
Lomo didn't do enough to take the champs titles. However, which I call that a draw because I want to see that again. Because Devin may have won like maybe the first 4 rounds. I forgot how I scored it. And I rescored it. I had it a draw. I had it a draw.
I had it 7. I had it 7.
And with the draw,
I had it 7. I had it 7-4-1 even for Devin Haney. I watched the fight like 3 times. I still had Devin winning that fight, and I know it was controversial. It could have went either way. I wouldn't have been like appalled if they would have gave it to Lomachenko because he had those 2 great rounds. I mean, but then he fucked up the 12 rounds.
This is a must see again, though. It's a must see again, though.
No, I agree with that, but I'm saying I think now Devin Haney, he struggled so bad to make, behind the scenes, he really struggled to make that weight. I would be okay if he said, you know what, I'll fight Lomachenko again. I'll fight him again at a catch weight because he did win the fight and he is the A side and he had the right to call the shots. If he said, okay, well, I'll fight you at a catch weight just so we can, clear the air, and then if you win, then we'll fight at 135 for the belt.
The catch weight doesn't grant you the fight for the.
No, I understand it.
So the catch weight is a wasted move. I wouldn't, if I was advising a fighter, you gotta watch the catch weights because if you're not on weight for titles, they're not title weights. Unless the boxing organizations sign off on it.
Yeah, I understand that, but like I said, Devin, due to the fact he won.
Lomo he's at his max weight anyway. He really is a 130 pounder. I seen his power kind of decrease when he got to 35.
Yeah, and I seen some things.
Because remember, he was a finisher at 130. He's not a finisher at 135.
Well, he hasn't looked very impressive at 135 because if you go,
spurts. You see spurts.
If you seen the Teofimo Lopez fight going into that 12th round, if it wasn't for Russell Moore, he was about to get stopped, and for some reason, Russell Moore, I'm talking about. Teofimo had Lomachenko badly hurt, and he was on the verge of stopping him. And for some reason, he basically got in the middle when Teofimo was going on his flurry, and basically Lomachenko was able to survive. But I've seen this thing with Lomachenko. Lomachenko, for some reason, he gives up a lot of rounds. He gives up a lot of rounds, and he falls behind. You saw that with Jermaine Ortiz, Devin Haney. You saw that with Teofimo.
He puts too much time in the pivoting and positioning. I think he wastes energy on pivots and movement. It's too much movement. That's what I think. And he did a lot of that for like 6 rounds with Teofimo. Teofimo just boxed him.
Yeah, he was well behind on the cards versus Teofimo. And the funny thing is,
I want to say 8 rounds he did.
And the funny thing is, just like with Devin Haney, Lomachenko did have like a 2-round rally where it looked like he was on the verge of stopping Teofimo, and he gassed out, and then Teofimo
got him in the last round. Yes, it's Lomo's conditioning, I think. And like I said, I think he's not as powerful at 35 as he is 30. He's a small guy. He's a small guy.
Yeah, I've seen him.
But he got a little power though. Because he hurt Devin. He hurt Devin a couple times, maybe 3 or 4 times in those 2 rounds. I want to say he hurt him in the knife too. I want to say in the knife. Because I kind of was going to give him the knife round though. I may have did. I have to look at how I scored.
Yeah, but he didn't. I think he needed to drop Devin.
He should have dropped Devin.
He needed to drop him.
If he didn't drop, he didn't drop Devin. If he would have dropped Devin, then it would have been a totally different outcome. But he didn't do enough to take Devin's titles, though. And I really think that Devin needs to allow the trainer that's training him for these fights in camp to be present in the corner, giving direction. Because it's things that a trainer needs to tell you when you go back and sit on that stool. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bomac did with Crawford. Told him about the jab. Because Lomo did a lot of beating Devin to the left. Typically southpaws, before they throw their left hand, they step right. Loma was beating Devin over to his right, to Devin's left. So he was getting his left off. And when he went back to the corner and sat on the stool, his trainer should have told him that. So you got to have somebody that really understands what they're looking at and what they're seeing to convey that to the fighter. You know, and it gotta be somebody that a fighter really trusts, you know, in their word. So Devin needs to find it. I think he's at a point of his career now. He needs to find a trainer and let that trainer have that.
All right. So we finna wrap this up. But one last question before we sign off. Okay. So speaking of Shakur Stevenson, it seemed like he kind of like almost the odd man out. He kind of almost like where Bud was a few years ago with the whole yeah. So what do you think Shakur Stevenson should do? Like, what do you recommend for Shakur Stevenson?
He just got to keep fighting. Bud kept fighting, so keep fighting. You know, and be patient. And it's a situation gonna come about. You know, that you're gonna be able to take advantage of. It's gonna get to the point to where a situation gonna come about. Because Devin is gonna give those belts up, I think. I don't think he's gonna hold on to them.
So do you see Shakur Stevenson being in a position to fight Lomachenko?
He's in the position to fight Lomachenko.
I mean, it's a fight that could be made, but do you think they'll make the fight? Because I know to a certain degree, I think Top Rank still want to kind of push Lomachenko a little bit. Me, myself, I've never saw Lomachenko, and this is the honest God truth. Great fighter, I've told you this, but Lomachenko, for some reason, he just don't have a fan base.
He's Russian or whatever. What is he, Russian?
No, he Ukrainian.
I mean, close. Yeah.
He's considered a traitor by Ukraine.
He hasn't developed a fan base. That takes time, you know. He barely just started speaking English, right?
I think he speaks English better than he pretends. It just depends on what type of question.
He's got a translator every time I see him at a fight.
Well, he understood the question at the post-fight.
Well, I gotta say, I've been watching him for years, so he's probably gotten better over the years with his English.
So how do you see a fight? Because last time I talked to Shakur said he didn't have nothing in store for him, but he was talking about that some stuff might be coming up if they can make Lomachenko versus Shakur Stevenson. How do you see that? How do you see that fight going down? Who wins the fight and how?
I mean, Shakur was a sparring partner at one point, so I think Shakur already knows his what he got in his toolbox. And Shakur got a lot in his toolbox. You got to think, Shakur's gets.
Hold on, sorry. Hey, get this troll out of here. Somebody said that Lomachenko is better than Terrence Crawford and Eros. Man, get this dude out of here, man.
He gonna
get this dude out of here for real. Yeah, get his ass out of here. His name is Clayton Bigsby. You know who Clay Bigsby?
Who was that?
You remember Dave Chappelle that when he played that Black Klansman that
Clowns.
Yeah.
Clowns. I mean,
go ahead, bro.
Another one, unqualified, not qualified.
Go ahead, man.
Another one. You got another one. I mean, you know, hey, it is what it is, Joe.
All right, you guys, check this out. If Justin, he didn't say it several times. Justin, plug your social media sites and how to get. You can get in contact if you want to get in contact with Justin. You can go through me. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of like his unpaid agent, so you know what I'm saying. If you want to get in contact with him, just hit me up. Y'all know how to hit me, email, all that stuff. So just tell them how to reach you, Jay.
They can reach me through you.
So are you going to Arizona for Norvate and Valdez?
Top ranked fighter.
Yeah.
When is it?
It is.
I might go there.
It is August the 12th.
I may go down there. That's in a couple weeks, so I may go down there.
So I just want to tell you guys, y'all gonna start seeing Justin on a regular basis. Cause
Well, they're gonna see me behind the scenes.
Yeah, and y'all gonna see him. And
I'm trying to get back behind the scenes. Right
okay,
now.
and also
and programming somewhere.
Also, you may see me at Canelo versus Charlo. We'll see. But anyway, appreciate y'all.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we out.
Ah.